Hi. As I was getting organized today and getting ready for a trip later this week, I kept running across things that people had given me. And I started thinking how great it is to have friends that give you gifts from now and again, but who also make suggestions. In the case of today, I have suggestions from several people that I've put together for this little combination tonight. And I'd like to acknowledge them. First of all, I will be drinking some bourbon out of this really interesting looking glass that a childhood friend, John, sent to me. And this is the first chance I've had to give it a try. So thank you very much, John, and good luck tomorrow. And another friend, Mark. Mark suggested to me that I try some bourbon called the Burning Chair. So tonight I'm going to do that. You might imagine I tried it a couple days ago. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit and talk about how it goes with this cigar. Cigar was suggested by another friend who talks about with me a lot about whiskey and cigar pairings. So Jacob, I've got a Caldwell Blind Man's Bluff here tonight. So this bourbon that Mark suggested is actually it's a 4-year-old bourbon, which means it's aged for a minimum of 4 years, or the youngest bourbon barrel that went into this bourbon is 4 years old. It's actually a blend of whiskeys from Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee, blended together, aged for a minimum of 4 years in new charred oak barrels, which is required actually to make bourbon here in America. And then it's finished in some wine casks, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The wine casks come from various wine operations in the Napa Valley that are operated by one David Finney. He's well known in the winemaking world. You probably are familiar with Oren Swift Cellars. They make a number of very good wines. He founded that company. I'm going to say it was around 97 or so, but at any rate, that was his company. He is still the creative director there, the winemaker, although he sold the company a number of years ago. He now owns several wineries around the world, is very well known, been very successful. And he ventured into the whiskey world a few years back. I'm going to say 5 or 6 years. It's possible it's been longer than that. And so he has combined his winemaking experience with what he's learned about distilling whiskey, and has come up with a whole family of whiskeys. And I'm going to talk about 2 of them tonight, actually. His distillery, Savage & Cook, is located on Mare Island, which is in California. It kind of, to me, it looks like it's on the edge of Napa Valley. I'm not a Californian, so I don't know if it's actually in Napa Valley or just borders it, but it's in the neighborhood. And he has also access, obviously, to all of these wine barrels from his wine operation. So he finishes these whiskeys in the wine barrels, which, as we have learned from many other whiskey makers around the world, it certainly adds some character and certainly some flavor. So that's what his operation consists of out there on Mare Island. This particular bourbon is called the Burning Chair. I neglected to remember why that is. I apologize for that. The mash bill is 75% corn. Obviously, that makes it qualify for a bourbon because it's more than 51%. 21% rye, 4% malted barley. It at 88 proof, very easy to drink. You don't get any kind of burn or anything. Those of you who like, much higher proof whiskeys will not enjoy the lack of burn. The rest of us who don't necessarily have to drink high proof whiskeys will find this very flavorful. It's got all the requisite bourbon components in it. And it lingers. It's got a sweet, slightly sweet after finish. Maybe some sweet spice in there a little bit too, as a matter of fact. Very, very tasty on its own. I'm drinking it neat, which is the way I try most whiskeys at first. I'm enjoying it. I had some the other day and thought, this is pretty good. I'm going to have a hard time finding something wrong with it. It's interesting. It's smooth, and yet it hangs around a while. I can still actually taste it and feel it. So how does it go with cigars, specifically the Caldwell Blind Man's Bluff? Doesn't interfere with it at all. I can still taste the bourbon even after taking a hit off this stick. That doesn't always happen. This is a medium cigar. This is a Habano wrapper. It's a Robusto, so that's 50 ring gauge by 5 inches long. It's got kind of what you get in a lot of these cigars, and I actually think it really comes out in these sizes, the Robusto size, is that sort of woody cedar character. And while it's got, again, much like this bourbon, there seems to be some kind of seasoning or spice note in there, but it's more sweet than anything else, than savory, for example. So it kind of matches up with this bourbon. I had smoked this cigar once before, and I don't remember what I drank with it, but I remember when I read about it, I thought, yeah, that sounds like that'll go with pretty much any bourbon, and I believe it will. It goes very well with this one. What's interesting is these two both have a similar characteristic in that they've got legs. You sip this whiskey and it hangs around a while. Yeah, it's got a nice kind of long finish. As time goes on, I taste more of the sweetness. It's somewhere in the I'm gonna say vanilla honey area, and I can still taste it. Now the cigar doesn't take that away completely. It kind of marries with it very nicely. This might be one of the better pairings I have stumbled upon, and I did stumble upon it. This works very well. And I said it a minute ago, I would recommend the Caldwell Blind Man's Bluff with pretty much any bourbon. Particularly, I will say this, in the under 100 proof category. I'm not sure that it will stand up to a lot of the higher proof bourbons, but for anything under 100, particularly under 90 or so, this cigar will stand up very well. Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Honduran filler, Honduran binder, and actually long fillers that are Honduran as well as Dominican. Caldwell's an interesting company. They, if you look at their website, they talk about kind of their culture and what they're known for, and it's the things that I picked out. Interestingly, one of the things you notice about their cigars is they're very handsome. They're very good-looking cigars. These are beautiful brown wrapper on this. The shade you would expect in a Habano. They have a distinctive band. Each one has a picture, I think they all do, of some different person on them. Depending on the name of the cigar, the names are all unique. This one, as I said, is Blind Man's Bluff. The boxes are very attractive, a little bit different than a lot of cigar boxes. So they've sort of made that one of their earmarks. They're handmade cigars, very well made. I have smoked a number of them over the last year or so. I have a friend named Jacob who really likes Caldwell cigars. He has a couple others that I think he likes better than this. But this one is very good, and I picked it specifically because I was sure it would go well with any bourbon, and I thought especially this one, and it does. It's very good. Now, sometimes I forget to talk about the cost. The bottle, 750 milliliter bottle, is $45, $44.99, I guess, at Total Wine and more, which is not where I bought this one, but that's where I looked up the price today. So that means that this drink set me back $1.78. I'd say it's pretty good value. It's worth every penny. I would proudly serve this to someone who routinely drinks more expensive bourbons. People who really like high-proof bourbons, again, this is not for you. But it's easy to drink. If you're just starting to drink bourbon, this is a little different. Now, as I've had a little more of it, I'm sort of getting what I guess I'll call the David Finney effect, the winemaker effect. It actually has some, it's not necessarily the flavor, but the character of it does kind of remind me of a wine. You're left with some sweetness on your palate, which is, dare I say, enhanced a little bit with this cigar. $8.30 for this one locally here in Texas. So if you were to have one of these cigars and 2 whiskeys, which is typically what I would do in an evening, you're going to have to invest $13.63 for that experience. That's acceptable to me. That's about, that's a light beer at the local country club. Might be 2 drafts. It's Jack and Coke in most bars. So if you're going to drink at home or somewhere where you're bringing your own bottle and your cigar club, this is an inexpensive alternative. So that's the burning chair. Now, the distillery, David Finney's distillery, by the way, it's known as, it's called Savage and Cook. If you wanted to look it up online. They make a variety of whiskeys. I have only managed to get my hands on 2 of them. I haven't looked really hard, but just looking online at the local retailers, I don't find that it's everywhere. So depending on where you live, it may be hard or easy to find. This second one is called, appropriately enough, Second Glance. When I first got this thing, I thought, well, okay. I looked it up online, and I did not see any indication that the bottle would be black. Doesn't particularly bother me, but I believe it's black because this is a special selection, a barrel select by the Total Wine and More folks. So this came from a local Total Wine store, and that's their particular one that they sell. I poured some of it to try it out. I have not tried this. This one is a little different. As I always say about this time, I got to keep this cigar going since my lighter is out of fluid. If you're a cigar smoker, you know that always happens. This is, again, the same kind of blended whiskeys from various sources that David Finney has put together. These are aged, the youngest bourbon in this blend is 5 years old. So they've been aged at least 5 years in ex-bourbon barrels. So barrels that have already been around the horn. And then they're made in actually looks like fairly small batches, and then they're finished again in wine barrels from David Finney's operations. And specifically, apparently these are finished in a Zinfandel barrels. Barrels that are used in his Zinfandel projects. One of the things that I noticed they talk about a lot, the Savage and Cook people on their website, is their water. They have a very good water source, and anybody that makes whiskey knows that's incredibly important. So this again, like the previous one, is 88 proof. This is 95% corn, and 5% barley. So again, this technically would be an American whiskey, I guess. I don't know why it wouldn't be a bourbon. Oh, because it's not aged in new charred oak barrels. That's why. Quite different. It lacks the sweetness that I found in the Burning Chair. You're left with almost, it's sort of like a dry wine feel. It's not quite bitter, but it wants to be. It's right on the edge of it. I don't find that it lingers as long as the finish on the Burning Chair. It's very bold compared to the other one, compared to the Burning Chair. The Second Glance is bolder. Again, I get that woody, but it's different. It's like a different wood almost, and maybe that's because the barrels already have some miles on them. There is some fruit in there, and I can't tell you what it is. But it's not up front. It's sort of on the finish. As it lays there, you get a little bit of fruit. Interestingly enough, this cigar takes away the legs on the whiskey. So take a sip of the whiskey, hit the cigar, you forget about the whiskey. Now all you're feeling, all your brain knows is going on is the cigar. Quite different than the Burning Chair. That's not necessarily negative. It just is. Sometimes we find this. You want to try both, hitting the whiskey first, then the cigar, and then flipping around. If I hit the cigar first and then the whiskey, I feel more of the conversion of both flavors. Where if I hit the whiskey first and the cigar just erases the whiskey pretty quickly. Very interesting. I expected this to be a lot sweeter than the Burning Chair because it's almost all corn mash. But my unsophisticated palate, not really finding that. If I had to pick one, I would probably pick the Burning Chair. And I believe, and I may be wrong, but I believe the Second Glance is in the mid $30 range, so it's a little less money than the Burning Chair. I decided to add the Second Glance kind of at the last minute, so I did not actually record the price on it. But I remember, because I just picked this up the other day, that I was surprised that it was $32 or something. Again, at Total Wine. If you want to buy one, I'm going to recommend the Burning Chair. I'll spend some more time with the Second Glance as well and try to understand it a little bit more, but it's a very nice looking whiskey. It's got a nice color. They're very similar, as a matter of fact. There's not a whole lot of difference in the color at all, but it's not, a real light, wimpy color. It's got a nice sort of copperish hue to it. Yeah, the more I try it, the more I get some kind of berry in there. I purposely don't read the tasting notes on these things because I don't want it to influence me. I refuse to be influenced. So you don't get a lot of information from me, like what exactly kind of berry am I tasting? Don't know. But you can try it, and whatever berry you taste, that's the one. So I would say this has not been a bad experience at all. I very much recommend this Caldwell. Not the blind man's Bluff. I definitely would recommend this cigar with any bourbon. It happened to go very well with this Burning Chair, the Burning Chair, which has, what did I say, 12% rye, 21% rye, so it's a rye-ish bourbon, if you will. It goes a little bit better with that one, but it works fine with the Second Glance as well. If you're a Buffalo Trace or Basil Hayden drinker, then I think this cigar will work. Try it and let me know if it doesn't. Yeah, that's a good cigar for bourbons. Give it a try. Let me know. If you have anything you'd like me to pair, shoot me a message. I'll give it a try. Y'all have a great evening.